All right, what's up, dudes? Here we are. We're doing a post-game show. I'm a
I
little
changed my
tired.
name for the show.
So did I.
Hey,
I'm going to start doing this.
you guys
Yeah.
can do that?
Oh, yeah.
You could do it too. I keep telling you. You usually try to start every show as Bob Manning, and I have to change it at least to Josue.
Yeah, that's me doing it. Yeah, that was me.
Just no. This is you have the power. Anyway, just letting people know. Bobby's here. He's checking out. He's listening in on Ime, who's talking right now. And Sherrod is in Atlanta. He's going to join us in a little bit. Celtics lose to the Hawks tonight in, I don't know, I guess a relatively competitive game. I don't know. It felt like the Celtics were kind of always chasing this one a little bit. And
Yep.
there are some things. It's just this is a hard one to get like too upset about. You're down two starters playing a team that's probably better than you, or at least is probably better than you, even if you are full squad. So I hate to make excuses. Plus, Atlanta shoots like 58% from the field through three quarters. I don't know what the final numbers were, but they shot the lights out. They shot 50% for the game. It just was one of those. This is one of those make miss league sort of wins here, where you just, Atlanta was just hitting shots left and right. They shot over 50% from the field. Herder,
don't hurt him.
Was a problem.
Herder, don't hurt him.
Herder was a problem throughout too. That was the thing. And then Cam Reddish, the second half,
he cooled off. I don't think Herder did anything. Herder didn't have a point in the second half, but then Bogdanovich picked it up. Gallinari hit a couple, Reddish hit a couple, and that was it. They just kind of got off and running. Ball game. Yeah, 110-99.
Game blouses.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kept a healthy lead on the Celtics. The Celtics tried to, they got to like 10 or whatever it was, and just tried to claw back. And even Trae Young didn't even have a great. I mean, the first half, the way that they were playing Trae Young, if you told me they held him the way they did, and I would have thought that they were be up on the Hawks at that point. But like we said, Herder and Collins, those guys kind of did their thing.
And that's it. So you're gonna have. What are you gonna have today? We're gonna have a little bit of Tatum. Tatum got right a little bit talk.
Yeah. Although.
Yeah, for sure. Especially because he didn't start out so hot, right? So he had to really work for that.
Yeah.
And he stuck with it.
And you've got the Grant game, so we're gonna get a healthy doses of that from Bobby and Sherrod when they jump on. So why don't we do some Grant bashing now? And that way we don't have to deal with those guys later. But I don't know, guys. Just initial thought on this game overall before we get down to the nitty gritty.
I thought the execution was just lackluster, to say the least. I mean, in the fourth quarter, it got to the point where you sort of wanted them to start setting up Tatum, because it was like, you know what, he's the only one going. The guys are getting open shots, but they're not falling. Why not? Let's just get him going and just pick up the momentum from there. Let the pieces fall, and whether that means an open Marcus Smart three or another shot. Instead, it seemed like the Celtics were sort of like forcing those shots, right? And forcing everyone to get their looks. But at the same time, you have a team like the Atlanta Hawks where they felt, they smelled blood, so to speak, right? I mean, they outscored the Celtics throughout the second and third quarter. So by the fourth, they're like, man, we hang around for another 6-7 minutes and this game is ours. And that's exactly what happened.
Well, there's a couple of runs there, where Atlanta just kind of got hot.
It was like another punch from Atlanta. And there
was a 14-2, a 13-5. There's just a bunch of.
They knew by the fourth quarter, one more punch. And that was, in my opinion, it was Cam Reddish, man, on both ends.
Yeah, that was the one in the third quarter. 13-5 run made it, 16. They had a couple tough sequences there. There was a 4-point game at one point in the third quarter. Smart missed a layup. He goes, Bogdanovich comes out. They go under on a screen. He hits a three. The alley-oop that Horford kind of caught on the rim and doofed it a little bit there. Bogdanovich with another three. It went from 4 to 10 in like 20. seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so fast. And then Tatum got blocked. Tatum got blocked. I think another three the other way. 13-5 run, 16-point lead in the third quarter, and they never really recovered from there.
I mean, the Hawks shot 51% too. I mean, it's tough to beat a team when they shoot more than 50% from the field.
And they were gambling a little. They doubled Trey a bit. They were trying to keep him from going off. They did. Found some shooters. Those guys hit their shots. Pick your poison, That was kind of what happened tonight.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the Hawks played a better team game from start to finish. Celtics, we already know that they're not a great shooting team. So you're going to win these games on defense. So if you're giving up over 50% from the field, chances are you're not going to go toe-to-toe offensively with a team like the Hawks, we already know they have shooters, Herter, Trae Young, and they have a nice presence inside, whether it's Capella or Collins. Capella just alters shots. Like, that's just what he does. He's not going to blow you away in the stats, but when he's out there, he does make it very difficult to score around that rim. And I thought the Celtics,
they could have taken more advantage of times that he was out and been more aggressive. They did drive some, but those are, when Capella's out of there in the middle, you have to definitely be a little bit more aggressive there. I didn't love that. Like, I get the strategy, but you've got Capella and Collins, which means you start Grant and you go with your double big, the best that you can put on the floor with Rob being out. And, you got great contributions out of Grant early. And then kind of he turned back into a pumpkin at halftime and was just Grant. I mean, he wasn't horrible, but that's basically it.
Right.
I mean,
but that's
you got
what you're going to get from him.
You got closer to a Grant level performance in the second half where it was like, he was there, but But
you know what? That being said, he's still outperforming the rest of the quote unquote kids right now, which says more about them than him, to be completely honest. But again, Neesmith, very forgettable minutes out there. I didn't really see a whole lot from Langford. Jesus,
who's doing that?
This? Who's doing this?
Oh, it's got to be Bobby, because Bobby just came back.
Oh, Bobby.
Bobby just got back, so it must be Bobby.
He loves that stuff.
You know who I'm starting to come around on?
He's trying to make a grand entrance right now.
He is.
I'm starting to come around on our friend Richardson. He just does a lot of little things out there.
I want him to keep it going, Jimmy. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I felt like he was just like one or two more shots away from like really heating up. I mean, he was heating up, but it was like, man, if he just gets a couple of threes here, that's the couple of shots that they needed to get the run that they needed. They never really got it down to single digits, and just when they did, right when you thought that they were going to be able to put together the run that'll get it to a 2-possession game, back in the Hawks.
He's solid, veteran, kind of type of presence that you need from somebody coming off the bench, and he plays solid defense. So I just think that I'm starting to come around. I know we were kind of joking about how he would be the least liked Celtic, but that's definitely not the case. There's a lot more least liked Celtics right now, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Bobby, why don't you want to just start talking about Grant now, and then I'll kind of tune back in about 15 minutes?
Yeah.
I'm actually not going to start there. He had a good game. I think we can leave that to later.
He had a good half. Okay? Let's be real. He had a good half.
Yeah, he kind of gave them what they needed on offense. Yeah. Defensively, this is a concerning game. I think this game was concerning for a number of different reasons, and you can say they kept it close. You can say multiple guys down, all that stuff. I'm worried about the attention to detail with this team. Just the turnovers, point-blank misses, stuff that you can't really chalk up to the talent difference between these two teams, the pressure Atlanta's putting on them. That turnover Schroeder had at half court was pretty devastating. That led to the Collins hanging layup there down the stretch. Yep. Tatum had one against
Tatum
Reddish
had a couple. Tatum dribbled off his foot one time and then complained all day about it. There's a few in there, right?
Yeah, and then just being so low on these shooters all game. Like, did you see that play where Bogdanovich broke out and Tatum's just kind of standing there with his arms out at the three-point line?
Well,
it's attention to detail.
We talked about the sequence in the third quarter when Bogdanovich hit those back-to-back threes. Smart missed an open three on a kick from Tatum. Then he goes under on a screen. Bogdanovich hits one. Then they go back, botch the alley-oop. Then they go back. Bogdanovich hits another.
Yeah, that botched alley-oop, too. Like, just so many little... screwed up plays.
Smart missed two layups. Drive into the basket at least two.
And again,
so you do have a lot of those where it's just frustrating because that's the thing. If you're a team that can't hit shots all day, you got to be able to do everything else. You got to take advantage of layup opportunities. Romeo had a Simmons Romeo had a Simmons moment in the first half too, but my
Tatum
God.
losing
Well, I
a
feel
point,
like-
putting his foot on the line. Like, come on.
Yeah, but I feel like it was worse down the stretch. Well, for obvious reasons, but especially because they come out of a timeout. I believe it was Marcus Smart made the layup. Atlanta calls a timeout. You got it down to 9 points, and you just saw poor execution again. You saw careless turnovers, in my opinion. And then Atlanta did the same thing. Like you had a chance to capitalize on Atlanta. You know, making that. I think it was the Trae Young that he threw it up threw it in the corner as if I think it was Cam Reddish in the corner, as if he was like 7'8" or something. Awful turnover, but you don't capitalize on that. You give it right back to Atlanta.
Yeah, and no doubt, Atlanta had an incredible game offensively. I thought Young was awesome. Their shooters were on from the first moment of this game. The Celtics probably weren't going to win this game no matter what, but you wanted to see them be able to keep it close the way they did for much of it. And when the execution broke down between the end of the third quarter into the fourth, that's when this really became a blowout that you imagined it would have possibly been.
What about setting up Tatum, Bobby? What do you feel about that? Like down the stretch, or at least like the 6 or 7 minute mark in that fourth quarter, where it felt like it was getting away from them. You felt like the Celtics, or at least Ime, could have done a better job of setting them up a bit.
It's a real concern. Yeah, the ball ended up out of his hands. I feel like when he gets off the ball, he has a tough time when guys are kind of face guarding him, and that's kind of the downside to some of the movement stuff you want to see him start to do when he's not on the ball, dribbling away and making plays. They definitely lost him down the stretch there. And he had a good third quarter. You know, he had that spinning layup layup attempt for the free throws there. Another good shot, you know, the one I mentioned with his foot on the line. He did some good stuff to get himself going in the second half. But again, this was one of those weird Tatum games that we've seen all year long. It was like good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. Bro, started slow, heated up, turnovers. All of a sudden he's making plays. Like you had a little bit of everything from him here in this one, and it wasn't enough. And at some point, like I know we've thrown out all these reasons that he could be struggling, and it ends up being a decent game for him. But with the attention to detail, especially with him as the most important player on the team, at some point you can just kind of say he's playing bad. And that's all there really is to it. Like he needs to be better.
He has been.
Like
tonight's not one of those nights. Tonight was a night where, again, some of the stuff was falling. He was aggressive. I thought actually he was quicker with his decisions. He didn't, he wasn't dribbling and trying to set up defenders. He was being more aggressive when he was trying to get downhill on some of those things. But again, you're right. I mean, he disappeared. Not disappeared. Got 4 field goal attempts in the fourth quarter, made 3 of them, but yours definitely wasn't involved enough there. Turnovers and that sloppy stuff you want to clean up. And as you said on the text chain, Bobby, the complaining to the refs thing, I guess, is just something Ime gave up on. So that's always going to be there. And that's still going to be frustrating because it's, again, just keep yourself in the game, man.
Yeah,
not even Grant
you can't control that. You can't. It's the heat of the moment. Control it. Like any competitor will tell you that. Like it's just uncontrollable.
But good to see some shots falling because, again, like you almost saw it. They ran a set. It's so funny how it's in his head. They ran a set for him, obviously early to get him an open look, and he had a wide open look on a 3 and he missed it. And you could almost see right out of the gate he was like, ugh. And then the next time he got the ball, he had the ball with another great opportunity to take a quick catch and shoot 3, and he kicked it. And so it's like, okay, he's already in his own head thinking about that. So I was like, oh no, here we go. And then he started to get it rolling, and that was, thank goodness for that, because he needed it. He needed to see some drop. He missed 3 wide open threes, one of them very badly in the first half. So it really felt like it could have gone either way with him. And he got some easy buckets. He got downhill. He drove a little bit more, and he did make a couple of threes. He made a couple of step backs, top of the key, 3. He needs those in his game. The threat of him just being able to pull up from anywhere all the time and keep people honest is huge. And he can't he has to have the confidence to pull the trigger on those shots. So he needed this bad. He needed a game like this bad.
I think that's maturity, John. Honestly, I think this kind of game will go a long way for Tatum compared to like the one where he's, he only missed a few field goal shots and he scores 35 points where it comes easy to Tatum. No, this one didn't come easy to him. He had to read the defense. He's
working
had to be
for
smart.
it.
Yeah, he had to work for it. And I feel like a couple of years ago, maybe he bails out of that kind of situation. And I don't mean when I say bail out, I don't mean that he gives up, but I feel like it would have been more step backs, would have been more lazy attempts, instead of trying to read the defense better and find open guys and picking your spots, when to drive and when to say, I gotta pass out of the double team.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, but he's working for it. Again, what are you going to do here? You're still missing Jalen. Those are tough games for him because there's so much attention on him anyway. But
any
it's
news
just
on
kinda like
Jalen? Is
Bash.
Jalen going to come back Friday?
No,
Bobby,
it's
anything?
up in
Probably
the air.
not.
It'll probably be kind of a game time decision. I mean, there was a lot of momentum toward him playing Monday, and there really didn't seem to be any momentum toward him playing in this one. So he's probably just kind of in the same spot. I feel like it's possible, but there's no indication that that's going to happen.
Or-
That's actually why LeBron's playing, Jimmy. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it'd be great if both these teams could be healthy, get Rob back, all that stuff. It's just exasperating talking about this team to some degree.
It really is. I honestly, I want to end the show already. It's like, it's one step.
Me too.
It is, man. It's just, it's
Hey,
one
we gotta do
step
the
forward,
spot
one
first.
step. Well,
Gotta
it's
do the act.
like, again, it's
It's
again,
here we go again.
but it's the same thing. It's one step forward, one step back. This is life. This is the life of covering a 500 team. You can't.
this is life.
You
Ups and downs.
can't ever get any momentum going. You can't feel like, oh, they've turned a corner. There is no corner. They're an average team. They're going to win as many as they lose. So you're just yo-yoing back and forth, and you're stuck between
It's also hard
overreacting.
when they have their guys out too, though. I mean, I feel like we have to
It is
always
hard,
acknowledge,
always.
Like,
No, but
2 of their 5 starters are out. How does the game different if Jaylen Brown and Rob Williams are in? It's probably a lot different. So it's like,
could be.
how much criticism do they deserve? Do they deserve some in some ways? But it's like you always have to quantify it in another way, and it's like
You have
but
to
it's
do
like-
it.
But it's like what we talked about a couple nights ago. An opportunity for someone like Grant. Boom, there you go. Okay, call it a great a great first half.
gigantic water.
The way John wants to put it. Okay, maybe we can't technically call it the Grant Williams game, but maybe in a couple of weeks we will be able to call a game of the
Grant
Williams
stuff.
game.
The Grant stuff's exciting just because.
Yeah, I
John,
think that's exciting.
not
I'm
exciting.
not gonna
John's
call it
not. John's not gonna like the word because
it's not a revelation, John.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, here we go.
Then pick a different word. Pick a different word. Then you speak English. Pick a different word. It's not exciting.
yeah,
It's exciting because he gave you nothing last year, and he's giving you quite a bit in the shooting department to start this year.
It's not
intriguing is
I wouldn't say
close.
exciting.
Was what I
closer to
said-
it.
Was what I said in the first wrong? I mean, right now it looks like he could end up carving out the best career out of all the young players.
Are
on this
you
roster.
nuts?
None of the other guys can play
Why do we
But
think
that says
Grant
more
can
about the other
play?
guys, right?
because he can hit the threes. It's
Oh,
so
my
crucial for what they
God.
need right now. Here's my concern with him. They can't fit him in anywhere defensively. I mean, they were a mess
They
from
can't.
the opening minutes of this one, but you have to. We've talked about this all year long. There's no shooting on this roster at all. And Ime, this was essentially the theme of his post-game presser, just throwing his hands up again. Like, what are we going to do? It's great looks. We get the expected efficiency on these shots. It's wearing away on these guys because they're getting great looks and they're not falling. And we've said over and over again, they're now 27th in three-point shooting, 32%. You need to squeeze some guys on the floor that can shoot.
Yes.
And Grant actually bailed them on that regard.
I know, but he went 3 for 8 from 3, right? Like, that's not lights out shooting. He made 3 of his first 4 and everybody freaked out. Yes, it's up
better than the team's average.
It's up this year and it's better than the team's average, and that's fine. But if he was shooting volume and he was playing more minutes, he'd come back down to what his normal world is, which is just like everybody else, about 36-37%. So like, you can't get too excited because, oh, he had a little hot streak and he's up to 40 right now. He is what he is. He's a guy who's going to shoot about 36% from back there, who's very limited.
I think he
in a
can
lot of
get
other
better,
areas of
though.
his game. It's fine, but like I said, you're not like, you get excited when Grant's not that guy you're going to get excited about, because I don't think there's like that next level where
It's
you're
all
like,
relative, I guess, right?
yeah,
You're
here
excited,
he's going to be
it's like-
that guy,
Right.
So that's
you
that's the bummer.
You have
It's
someone like that in the front court to rely on, though.
It's great. Yeah, it's great if you have a guy in there as your 8th or 9th guy who can come in, give you reliable minutes, knock down a couple of shots. But again, you're talking about having to insert him in the starting lineup when Rob goes down. That's way too big a responsibility for someone of his caliber. And that was the problem with Grant last year. It's not that Grant's bad. It's that when Grant is playing 20 minutes a game, the things that he doesn't do well, you see people's warts when they're in the light more. And that's it. That's all it comes down to is Grant's great 8, 10, 12 minutes off the bench, but he's not like a full-blown rotation guy.
He's 20.
Put it this way, no one's game planning for Grant.
But I mean, neither of the other guys, Bobby. You're right. I mean, Romeo's clearly not. You're forcing these minutes in here because you have to with these guys.
Yeah, the bar is low for excitement here.
Bar's really
low. You haven't seen
low.
Anything that makes you think that these guys could be consistent NBA players right now. And
Sorry,
Pritchard,
Bobby,
you saw it last year.
I gotta mute you, Bobby. Comments demand it.
Oh, so now John's a man to people. Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Mute
Listen,
Bobby.
The bar is very low to get excited about one of these contributing guys on this roster because all they need is a little bit of shooting, and he's giving them that. He's an outlet guy that when you throw it to him and he's wide open, he's always going to be wide open. They're never going to cover him. Actually, John Collins did once in this game. But you feel good about him shooting at this point. Since that 0-for-25 start to his career, he's a good three-point shooter. The volume's not massive, but it's enough. You know, you look at it and he's about 40% since he went on that cold streak to start his career. So it's a development of some sort. Like you need a guy who Tatum feels good about on the weak side hitting threes. And more often than not, when you hit him in the corner, he's going to hit it.
Wouldn't it be better if you didn't need Grant, though? That's what I mean. And it's like, and I'm not saying
we can dream about a world where they have 20A and...
Yeah, I'm not saying it to be funny. I'm just simply saying, like, that's where you are here. You need Grant contributions to be able to, like, hang in there.
Right.
And that's what's tough, you know?
That's
what's
all
we
we
said
can
this
do
in
is
the beginning of
analyze
the
what's
season.
in front of us.
Beginning of the season, we said
if you want to fire up the
TP
TP
not deep.
talk, we can.
Yep, let's do it.
They're not designed to win without Tatum and Brown on the court. They have pulled a couple wins off recently with Brown out, but things like that can't last. They're just not a deep enough team. They don't have that third superstar like, you know, teams like the Nets or whatever. You know, they can literally lose Kyrie Irving and still compete, you know? So they're just not built that way. We know this. If they can't stay healthy, then they're screwed. And tonight's a perfect example of a game where you needed to be fully healthy to beat a Hawks team that's going to be a playoff team, going to be a hard out, has nice young up and coming players. And I think a lot of people thought the Hawks were better than the Celtics going into this season. So it's no surprise that without two of their starters, they lose by double digits. And, you know, I mean, it's
You're not disappointed in the way they played, though, Jimmy?
I'm almost like, and this happened last season, I'm almost, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Apathetic?
Yeah, exactly. Literally, that's the word I was looking for. Like, I'm not disappointed because I'm not expecting anything different, really.
Is it based off of the injuries, or is it just the whole season in general?
It's the way it started without the injuries. It's just the way it started. And now with the injuries, I mean, what do you expect?
This is what I
know the young guys aren't capable of being in and like blossoming with their role. I mean, success is all about preparation and opportunity. These guys have the opportunity. They're just not good enough to roll with it.
So I think that's a good point, Jimmy, in the sense that, like, okay, what happens? The offseason, you get a little taste in summer league, and you're like, okay, let's see what happens. You make a couple of signings with guys
That's so disappointing.
But I mean, a couple of signings of guys who've played at a high level other places. You know, you acquire Horford in the trade, Schroeder, Richardson. Granted, they are kind of, you know, guys people didn't really want, but you're like, let's see how these pieces fit. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's that. Maybe everybody elevates their game this year. And so you have some hope and promise. You come out and you're like, it's pretty much more of the same. And that's what's so deflating about it is like the kids still can't play or they can't be trusted to play. And these veteran, you know, castaways were exactly that, veteran castaways that people didn't necessarily want. They don't make you better. They don't separate you from other teams in the league. You are extremely thin. You've got Tatum and Brown and Rob, maybe when he's around, and then nothing else on the roster to get excited about. And that's just who you are.
The depth's not as good as I thought it was going to be. I am
so it's deflating.
Confused.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, but just saying that because there's no Jalen or Rob though. Those are
I know, but the rest of it is you see it. Like, look at it this way: we've seen We've seen enough with Cantor. He's played like 6 minutes. He can't. If you're gonna give us a grief
The minutes
about,
explode so quickly.
If you're gonna give us grief about shitting on Grant for playing 20+ minutes a game and sucking all of last year, and you're gonna go after Cantor for his like 8 minutes of action all season, like he doesn't count among the list of problems. He was supposed to be.
No, not at all. If anything, he could have been a solution if they should have gone to him a little bit sooner.
No, but
it's incomplete. So far.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's what's frustrating.
The mystery was solved tonight.
We've been through seasons before covering this team, watching this team as fans, where you knew they weren't going to go anywhere, but there was things to get excited about. You saw some kids play well, whatever it was, like we've seen it. We've seen like flashes where you're like, oh, maybe there's something to be excited about this guy. There's nothing to be excited about with any of the younger players. There's nothing. You've seen enough to know that, like, when they come in, or you're like, ooh, let's see what Romeo's going to do.
No, you don't have the upside. But
you just don't have the upside there. Yeah.
You are starting to see glimpses of two of them becoming guys that can play, which is like basically where the bar was for Romeo and Grant at this point.
What about these guys?
We'll get to them
the
on
former or the latter.
We'll get to them at the hour 20 mark.
Two very different.
Where's our guy? Is Yamadar still on the squad?
What happened to him? He's out. He's in Serbia.
He's in another.
They can't get him back somehow.
Yeah, I'm not
He was supposed to be the savior.
Yeah, that was another early summer league hope. The summer league.
I was going to say, you want to comment on it though, Bobby, so go ahead.
All that coverage we did in the summer league, just like crumble in the dust, is disappointing.
But we knew that though.
It happens every summer league.
That's how it goes. That's why
you had two guys who are arguably the two best players, period, in summer league. So it might have been overrated.
They can't sniff the court.
It might have been overrated, but it was still relative to everything else exciting. I just want to say this on what we were.
Well, let's say hi to Sherrod first.
Can you guys hear me?
Hi, Sherrod.
What up, Sherrod?
What's up,
What
Sherrod?
up? What up, bro?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Can you hear?
We got you. Yes.
I needed some acknowledgement. Thank
sorry.
you very much.
We hear you.
You're doing the old Verizon thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
The
What's
last
going
thing
on,
you
buddy?
need to talk about is Wi-Fi.
Sherrod, you in the A, bro?
Yes, I'm in the A. The A, the T, the L. Yeah.
Fill us in,
A-town.
Sherrod. Let's get your perspective. You were there.
Okay, here's the deal.
Atlanta.
It took me a minute to just
Welcome to
embrace the reality. The reality is Atlanta's a better team, point blank. Let's just stop the bullshit. They're a better team.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't think the Celtics played a horrible game. I just thought Atlanta played better. I mean, the Celtics played the way that I think they need to play in order to be successful, but Atlanta's just better at it. I mean, the Celtics, they tried to attack the rim. They tried to be aggressive. They tried to do all those things, and Atlanta tried to do the same things. And guess what? Atlanta was better at it. So I'm not all that upset at this loss because, I think this is they just lost to a better team. Now, if they play like this most of the rest of the season, they're going to be where they're supposed to be, in that 5 through 7 range. But Atlanta is a better team, no doubt about it.
No. Yeah, it's like what I was saying earlier. We were talking about Jason Tatum, where I'm like, well, maybe this team, I know it goes against what we've been saying all season long, the philosophy of spread the ball around, don't get stagnant, don't play hero ball. But I was like, in this situation, let's see them keep feeding Tatum because he's heating up, and he had to work to get to that spot, right? So to get to that confident level. And I'm thinking, when do you say something like that? When you're seeing the Celtics playing against a team that's better than them. And that's exactly what we saw today. It's exactly
here's
what
the thing, Josue. Tatum began the game looking to get rid of the ball, get other guys involved, right?
Right.
And that's what he was looking to do offensively. Defensively, the Celtics were doing their best to get the ball out of Trae Young's hands. So Trae was essentially doing the same thing Tatum was. But here's the difference. Tatum is passing to Grant Williams. Trae is passing to Kevin Huerter. Guess who won that battle?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. In the second half, it was Cam Reddish.
Yeah, the shooting personnel
right.
on that team's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, think about this. Cam Reddish is like maybe the 4th or 5th, maybe even 6th option on that team, where on a lot of teams, he's probably in your top 3.
I know.
Especially
Yeah,
Celtics.
it's like I said, it's that there's more options, as Sherrod said. This is how we opened the show. Sherrod was basically saying, like, even fully manned, you don't know if the Celtics can compete with Atlanta. Atlanta's overall just a better team. When they're shorthanded like this, what are you going to do? You hate to just say, like, well, they tried, but this is one of those games. They just What are they going to do in this case? There's better players on the other side of the ball. You're down Jaylen Brown. You're down Robert Williams. You're going to play some really ugly rotations where you're going to be limited certain places. You're going to play Cantor minutes when you don't necessarily want to do that. You're going to start a guy like Grant Williams, who, despite his hot shooting, shouldn't be thrust into that role. You're going to play lineups. They're going to have guys like Schroeder, Richardson, Smart on the court at the same time, and that destroys any opportunity you have of spacing the floor because you have no shooters out there. You just don't have enough firepower, really. You got to have guys get hot who don't normally get hot, and you kind of did with Grant in the first half, and that kind of keeps you in it. Grant doesn't go off in the first half. This might have been a 15, 18-point game at the half and a 25-point game after 3. So, again, it's so the margin of error is so freaking thin with these guys. Right. At best, when they have a full lineup, you remove one or two, and I mean, you play a decent team, it's going to be really challenging to stay in the game.
And it's frustrating. I'm just going to say go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's frustrating because everybody saw this coming into the season. There was no mistaking how little shooting this team had coming in. Horford was going to be the guy you leaned on most as a floor spacer, and he's an okay shooter relative to the rest of the league. I still get so frustrated at just the lack of attention, just the front office paid to floor spacing on this roster. When you knew how important it was going to be to the Jays, you saw how it played out last year to not have reliable off-ball shooters on the wings, and to just be, I'm sure you were in the post-game presser, Sherrod. Like with each passing game, Ime's just like throwing his hands up, like he's not playing they're going to fall game at this point. Like they're getting the looks and they don't have the shooters to hit them.
Well, I think there's a couple of things. First of all, the overall talent behind their top tier players
is terrible.
Dramatic drop off. It's a dramatic drop off. But the other thing too is that when you talk about spacing, Bobby, you thought Peyton Pritchard might be able to help you in that. He's not. You thought Neesmith might be able to help you in that. He's not.
I don't know what's going on with Pritchard.
And that's really the problem. That to me, it's the elephant in the room is that they have guys that they were counting on who are not getting it done, and that has a domino trickle down effect. Where you look over across at Atlanta, I mean, they don't have DeAndre Hunter, but that just means more minutes for a guy like Cam Reddish. And what does he do? He drops 19 in 25, 26 minutes. The Celtics don't have guys that they could just plug and play when someone goes down. Like when Jaylen goes down, it's by committee. There's no one guy that can give you anything remotely close to what he brings. And it's like that for the top 3 or 4 players. Look at Rob. Rob goes down and
So, ahead, I hate to do this again this year because I mean it feels like a broken record, but it's like, look, what are you going to do when you're seeing stuff and it looks like this, which is fairly mediocre? As I said, the hardest thing to do is cover a 500 team because you can't really get anything going. You have no answers. This is what it is. It's a good game, a bad game, a good game, a bad game. But I'm going to end up right back where I was last year, which is you might have to play the kids. And I don't get mad yet. The reason being is like without rhythm, without minutes, without confidence, these guys have zero chance of helping you. Zero. Neesmith's not coming in and knocking down shots when he's playing 6 minutes a game. Not going to happen. He misses his first one. The night is over for him. Okay. It doesn't work. Same thing with Romeo. You saw him hitting corner threes. It's not going anymore, because, again, it's just really sporadic minutes and a very small opportunity to do anything. So we might be right back here.
Ime's rotation is tight. It's
a really tight one. And
it shouldn't be right now.
And we know they're not great, but you also know the other guys aren't great. So we're back into survival mode. Brad was trying to survive last year, so he's playing the guys he feels he can trust. Ime's in that same boat. He started the season in a hole, 2-5, 2-6, whatever they were. You're playing a really short rotation. You're overplaying your guys. You got wear and tear injuries, to both of your big men who are missing time because they're overplayed. Tatum's playing 40 minutes a night. Jaylen goes down with a knee injury. At this point, you almost just have you don't have a choice. You can't play. You're playing a short rotation, and the people you're playing in that rotation aren't that great anyway. So you almost have to, on a game when you're
That's what
short.
I said coming into this year about Pritchard. You have to force it his way.
A game when you're shorthanded like this, I would almost just say, screw it. I'm going to pretend that Neesmith is Jaylen Brown and play him Jaylen minutes tonight and see what happens. You know, it might be ugly as hell, but like, what are you losing by doing that? You know, just
you
do
lose
it.
the game.
but you're losing it. But you're losing it anyway. What I mean is, you're going into a game like this realizing the likelihood, if playing your tightest rotation possible and mixing and matching as best you can, you're still going to lose the game by 12 points or 11 points. That's best case scenario. So what's the alternative? It's not that bad. You've got to try to work these guys in to get contributions from them, because if you don't, you're dead. I mean, you're
especially. There's no real excuse.
I mean, we've been saying this for 2 years now. We've been saying this.
So I'm right back to it, because I agree with you guys. I have realized I don't think their ceilings are super high. I don't think there's a magic that they're going to all of a sudden blossom into something we just never saw coming. I don't think it, but I don't know what you're going to do at this point. What do you want to see? You know, what do you want to see out there right now? Like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see a Richardson, Schroeder, Smart, trio out there passing the ball around or dribbling it and driving into the lane and missing layups or missing threes. I just don't want to see those guys. They're all professional basketball players, but it's ugly offense.
Here's the problem, John. You know who's gonna have to do it?
It's starting to be demeaning now when you throw that line out there now, John.
Which one?
Well, at least now you put the professional part in there, but they're just basketball players, okay?
They are. I mean, right. I know, you know what I mean. They're fine, but like they can't shoot. I don't know. It's frustrating.
It's frustrating because they're doing things well in other areas. They're doing a lot of things well.
And Sherrod said it. What are they going to do tonight? They played the type of game that they needed to play to try to stay competitive.
And this is the distinction I've been trying to draw between this year and last year, because I do agree, John. It feels a lot like last year, and it's hard to argue with the record they have. They have a really good defense. I mean, number one, the last 2 weeks, when everyone's out there, they can be flat out dominant on that end. The things Schroeder's given you that we've talked about over the last 5 games, are different from last year. So there's things on this team that, you know, you're not going to get excited about the young guys. You're right, John. But there are things to get excited about with this team. And to have that shooting issue just constantly pulling and tugging at you and knowing, probably in Ime's heart of heart, knowing that that's not going to get better, it's frustrating. Because do you really want to scrap the starting lineup and the rotations you have when it's lean to you having the number one defense in the league? I get why a coach doesn't want to do that. It's going to come down to Brad. You know, is Brad going to have the heart when this team is, you know, teetering later in the season, under 500, to just kind of dump Schroeder for a pick? I know Forsberg wrote about this last week. It's a decent thought. You know, if he's playing really well, if you can sell high on him and that opens up some minutes for some young guys, at that point, you might have to do that.
Schroeder?
Maybe.
If you're at that point, you're punting the season, so to speak.
You are going to do.
You are. You absolutely are punting the season.
Oh, you have two choices.
He's literally the one player that's. Okay, what are the two choices, Bobby?
Yeah.
You either doing that.
What's B?
Sherrod is going to give you a dad talk in a minute.
Or we're gonna go the TP route again, and I'm tempted to do it. I was wrong last year.
Sherrod's gonna sun you right now. Okay, listen. Son.
I'm not gonna do it because Bobby. I like Bobby, but I will say this, Bobby. I will say this. At the end of the day, we are talking about a team full of grown-ass men. And if you're telling a grown-ass man that we're going to send you away because we need to make time for the kiddies to get out on the floor, even though we're
that's not the only reason, but
we're selling you on this notion that we have this culture of being about winning and championships, but we're going to punt on the season because that's exactly what you're doing if you trade literally the one guy who's actually playing above expectations.
Right.
You can't do that and get faith and look those guys in the face and just say, but we're about winning here. No, you can't.
We said this last season too. We said you can't punt on the season because you're going to lose the Jays.
Josue said you can't make the Fournier trade. So, like, you're just going to sit in the middle and go 500 again?
Well, if you're talking about making a splash, via trade, I think Jason, Josh Richardson is the piece that makes the most sense, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, you have to have him playing at a better level. Now, don't get me wrong, pretty good production today. You know, he's been pretty solid the last couple of games, but I think
You're
you
not
have to
gonna
see a
get
little bit
anything
more of
from
that
him.
before you're able to sell him out there.
What does Josh Richardson do for you if you're another team? What are you trading for? I guess
And that's
It gives you some added depth, a guy that can play both positions in the back or can shoot. Not a great shooter, but his mid-range game doesn't totally suck. And defensively, he's a bit of a pest. Not a great defender, but definitely I would say an above average defender.
I think your
But
trade
you're not
chips
going to get
are
a pick or
yeah,
anything. Like
your
you know,
trade
like,
chips are
Yeah.
your trade chips are
You're
going
getting rid of
be,
him to create. You're getting rid of him to create a space for those young guys, like Bobby said. You know, that's
Yeah,
one way that you can-
your trade chips are going to be
that's-
Schroeder
yeah.
and possibly Horford.
That's to make
even
a
though
path
even though
for
Horford's
Neesmith and Roman.
Horford's money is big, but he's playing at such a value right now. It's possible a team with a need that thinks it's close might eat it. Might eat it if they really need it. Schroeder's so easy to trade for, and a team might absolutely want a guy, sixth-man bench scorer to come in there. So
You can also bring back more money with the TP with him. So if you end up seeing a guy out there who's a little bit more expensive and you don't have to match with Schroeder, you could go that route. And they just like I think he'll have the flat out most value out of all these guys.
we're trading Horford for a TP, aren't we?
I don't think Horford's going anywhere this year.
Hope not.
They need him too much.
Well, with Rob's,
there's also another
it makes
guy.
even less sense.
I mean, he's been their best player. He really.
me
has.
Right,
ask,
without Rob right now.
Sherrod, real quick. You were in on interviews. Who did you hear from?
No, I wasn't in on the Celtics. I was actually in on the Hawks interviews.
Okay, and
they had
anything
Cam
there?
Reddish. I'm watching Al Horford walk out of the building right now. Hey Al, how you doing? He's got a family with him. Wow,
Bring him on.
Wow.
Yeah, tell him to come over.
Nah, he's like literally walking out the door.
Bring him on. We tell him he's got a bunch of fans.
Listen,
in here. Bobby will show him the jersey.
Yeah.
I've been waiting.
The thing about the Hawks is that the Hawks are the blueprint for what the Celtics should at some point buy into. I mean, they were young a couple years ago, all young, because they didn't have a choice. They did not have a choice. That's all they had to work with. And literally, their young players were their best players, and they got their asses kicked. But those guys eventually put it together, and now they're actually, their timeline is a little bit ahead of schedule because they're legitimately thinking about shit. We can get to the NBA Finals. We literally came just a couple of wins from that last year. So they're thinking, we're good right now. We're really good. And if you're the Celtics, at some point you need to either go all in and go and get just a mega superstar, star-studded squad, or you need to scorch the earth. Pick one. Pick one.
That's what I hate. I hate treading water. Yeah.
The worst place to be is in the middle.
Yeah.
This is the absolute worst place to be because you literally have no guidance or direction. There's no upside. There's nothing. You're just
and that was the fear.
Water.
It's what everybody got mad at with the Patriots last year too.
For the offseason. Yeah.
It was the same thing that happened with the Pats. You got the 15th pick. You're stuck in the middle, and you didn't trade Gilmore. You didn't trade whatever. Like, just decide what are you, and then make it. Make a choice.
Schroeder must be Cam.
Yeah. No, it's tough. Real quick,
Jaylen's got to come back though, guys. All right, let's come back down. Hold on.
Wait, hold on. You know what? This is how we come back down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Nice.
Bring the call.
Oh, this is so crucial for today.
I can't believe we went 43 minutes without doing this.
We got to get calm.
I assumed you guys had already get calm.
Calm.com.
Calm.com. We got to tell you about our sponsor, the #1 sleep and meditation app. For LeBron, he's bringing his Calm to the Garden on Friday.
Someone suggested this like 25 minutes ago. Like, can we get the Calm app? Can we get the Calm read?
Can we get the LeBron on the show, knowing that we're sponsored by his company there?
We're gonna try. I've reached out directly.
We've reached out. Yeah. Bobby,
direct.
maybe you can. If Bobby's going in the game, maybe he can get a question into LeBron about the comment.
When it comes to athletes, guys, we focus on physical fitness, but there's another side of the game that's just important, and that is mental fitness. And Calm is the #1 app for sleep and meditation. It has teamed up with the king, LeBron James, to help you train your mind and become the champion. This is in the copy. Become the champion version of yourself. What does that sound like? The best version of yourself.
Did Brad get that one in there?
Brad
Is
wrote
Brad
this.
also an owner of this company?
No, LeBron heard him say it. He was like, "I like that, Brad. I like that."
LeBron
I
does
want to.
like
Yes, I'm going to take
What is
that.
that? Best
I'm
version
gonna take
of
that.
your
Best
self.
version
Yeah.
self done.
That's
But
what he
wrote,
says in the huddle. You know,
He wrote champion. LeBron had to tweak it just a little, and he wrote the champion version of himself. But again,
yeah, he had to LeBron it up exactly.
Keep going,
Jimmy?
John.
from
Keep
the
going.
sound of rain falling on leaves to bedtime sleep stories.
That's Starling.
This
every
sounds
time.
like friggin' Hendrix
time.
right now.
That
Yeah,
was
I think
called
that's
Moon.
one.
That was called Moon in Scorpio. That was called. Oh, here's Moon in Libra.
Scorpio.
All my Libras out there, fellow Libras, I might add.
Scorpio's better though. Scorpio's better.
Here we go. Moon in
Scorpios.
Libra.
That's called don't put speaker to the mic like that.
I can't see how. I can't hear how loud it is.
That
Jimmy's the guy who calls in to talk radio and leaves
With
his
the speaker.
friggin' radio on.
This is radio.
Oh yeah, or the
He
radio.
leaves his Moon and Libra on.
He leaves his radio on. So if you
Moon
head
and
to
Libra.
calm.com
So he can hear
/garden,
himself.
this is the read, guys. Calm.com /garden. For a limited time, you get 40% off a premium
Great deal.
subscription.
Great deal.
Unlock
Oof,
content to
that's
help
a
you
steal.
focus, ease stress, and sleep better. Calm.com /garden. 40% off, limited time only. Josue, you were going to walk in. You were going to jump in and talk a little bit about Jaylen Brown, I believe. So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, let's pull it back for a second. You know, we're all talking as if this is the final product, as if this team is at full strength, and obviously without Robert Williams is the difference. But we're talking about Jaylen Brown, the guy who's supposed to lead next to Jason Tatum. Let's wait till he comes back. If this isn't the kind of injury, or at least from what we're hearing about it, this isn't the kind of injury that's gonna have him sidelined for the next month or so. So hopefully, I would be surprised if he plays against the Lakers on Friday. But hopefully he's back after that Lakers game or some point after that, and these guys can figure it out. You know, Tatum and Brown can come back together and figure out where this team goes from here, because they both have one heck of a perspective, you know, of respectively, right, for both of those guys. Tatum knows what it's like without him, and Brown knows how, itching to get back into the fold, so they can both share what they've seen from their point of view.
Ben Simmons.
Stop.
I don't know. I'm just trying to mix it up a little
Buzzwords.
bit.
It's not
Nice.
this episode.
Just
No,
buzzword.
No, more like trigger. That's a trigger word.
It's a trigger
Kyrie.
word. Kyrie Irving.
Another trigger word. Come on, keep it coming, damn. You guys want me to just turn this damn camera
That's why.
off, don't you?
That's why Jimmy's got to have the Calm app now, saying names like that.
Is somebody in a bird sanctuary right now?
He's still playing birds.
It's you, Jimmy. No, Josue.
It's
It's
always
like, are they
me.
going to notice me?
Change the tone of the show for sure.
I'm like a 5-year-old just waiting for somebody to just tell me to stop. I'm like,
What's up, Sherrod? What were you gonna say? Well, listen to
No, I was
this
gonna.
pod.
When you were talking about Jaylen and the hamstring, the concern isn't so much that it'll keep him out an extended period of time. The concern is that it will flare up at any given moment, and whenever that moment is, it will be absolutely horrible timing. Hamstrings are tricky. I mean, they are the one injury that athletes fear the most, because it's so debilitating, but it's just so damn unpredictable. Like, you could be feeling great, and just like that hamstring becomes an issue again. So I worry about that. And I like the fact that they're not rushing him back, and he's not trying to rush back, because, again, that's a tricky ass injury, man. I just remember.
Yeah, it's the worst. No, it's you're right. It's you come back a little bit too soon, and it costs you another 3 weeks.
right.
Yeah.
It's troubling that it's a reoccurring thing already.
Well, right, and also troubling is the fact that you don't know the correlation between that and some of the other bumps and bruises that he's dealing with when he's working out.
Yep. Yeah, they can all be related, intertwined. The games played for him aren't looking good for over the last couple of years for sure. I've talked a lot about the concern that he is going to become an injury-prone guy just through the manner in which he plays. But I'm looking at Rob. I mean, you look at Rob's numbers right now, statistically, he's like a bedrock for this team in terms
You
of their
legit
offense.
have more agendas than I do, Bobby. It's unbelievable.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
Rob, every show, Rob Pritchard Cantor. Go.
It all comes back. Yeah.
It's the same
And when they
thing.
play the Raptors, you already know.
I mean, it's noticeable to me how much they fall off offensively when he's off the floor. And, Horford's your defensive rock, Rob's your offensive
Horford, that
rock, and
one's
together they formed a pretty good duo. They are awesome offensively when he's on the floor. Maybe because it gives them that ounce of spacing. It's not the shooting, but it's the spacing on his rolls that can take pressure off guys a little bit, allow them to shoot some jump shots and the like. I noticed him being gone quite a bit in this one, maybe
Dude,
even more
he's a
than
total stabilizer when Horford.
Yeah.
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 Yes, I mean,
You
he's
think about the difference
probably-
between his minutes and Cantor's. I mean, come on.
It's not even close.
His drop
even
off, the
close.
drop off when he's not on the court. You're right, because right now he's doing so many things for you. It's so many things for you on both ends of the floor. Like and again, as Sherrod said, the drop off between him and what's coming in next. We talk about the drop off from the Jays to the young wings or to even Richardson or whomever. The drop off from Al to whatever is replacing Al is unreal.
Go to Grant,
Ugh.
yeah. As far as the starters go, and
Yeah.
the talk out of the team over the last couple of days is it's not anything to be worried about. We'll see where that goes. Maybe just another 1 game off thing like the last tendinopathy was, but they need him so badly. It's just like last year. Another thing that's the same as last year. When he's out there, they look like a real competitive team that can beat anyone on any given night. And when he's not, you're looking at Wancho and Cantor and Grant and these types. Horford, having him in there is a huge feather in the cap to the depth, but you saw down the stretch, like he wasn't able to finish on the pick and roll, with Schroeder there, and his post-ups aren't working for them, and there's just really a lack of offense with Horford right now, even though I've loved what he's given them, one of the best defenders in the league to start this year. They're an elite offense when Rob's on the floor. I think it's a 110 offensive rating. And,
Well, the problem is with Al is
Nice.
that they're asking him to play too many damn minutes.
Yeah.
Al should be in that low to mid 20s. Yet he's playing high 20s, low 30s almost every night. Tonight he was I think out there 33 minutes.
And that's
And you
why
look
I
at his
wrote on Tuesday, they should keep starting Schroeder and send Horford to the bench. Limit the load. You don't have to kill minutes with Schroeder. You don't have to take minutes off his workload out there. If sending Horford to the bench makes him play 10 less minutes a game and he's not pushing 35 every night and you're not destroying him by midseason, I think that's a good trade-off.
Or hear me out. Let's go back to what we talked about at the beginning of the year. Roll the dice with someone like a Neesmith or Romeo in that starting lineup, and have have Schroeder and Horford on the bench running a legit second unit where you've got. And again, you can't play this against all lineups, but you run your look. This whole dream of the 3 wings and the versatile and the switching and this and that. Why wouldn't you try? In this particular case, why wouldn't you try maybe a Romeo with the Jays there? You don't
Or
need
Richardson.
or Richardson. You don't need the offense. You need a wing who can defend a couple of different positions, switchable, grab some boards, finish in transition if needed. I wouldn't be against trying someone like Romeo in there, and then bringing in Neesmith as a shooter spacer with a Schroeder and Horford sort of lineup, and give the guy a fighting chance, and try to develop these guys alongside people that may actually complement some of the things that they do well, instead of just throwing out a lineup of Jabari, Grant, Pritchard, Romeo, and Neesmith and say, go ahead, guys, figure it out. It's impossible. So why don't you balance the lineups a little bit? Like I try something different.
All right, that was an email.
No, he did it 2 games ago. It's the one that 19-point game they lost 2 nights ago.
Yeah,
That exact lineup finished the first, and then
We
it
missed
finished
that
the
one.
third, and that's the one where it went off the rails. And Sherrod and I sat here and took all the
We're
freaking
just
I
bullets.
thought Schroeder was in there, no? I thought
We're
Schroeder was
just
in
like,
there.
wait a minute.
Yeah, Schroeder was in there.
No, not in that lineup.
Oh,
They
on
played
Monday, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a similar one on Monday.
Wow. See the one
when
you're
you're talking
thinking
about
about it. I thought that was the one with Schroeder.
When
in it,
you
right there.
front load the starting lineup with every player who does everything you want, and that includes Al and Rob and whichever point guard and the 2 J's, there's nothing left behind it, So that's why I would rather try to create a little bit of balance. Bring in a guy who fits a role and think of it as the whole, not 5 individuals there, and something like that. I think is worth a shot, because the other stuff is tough. You get into that bench and the drop is so friggin' huge. Even when you leave a J out there with those guys, it's all on them, and there's really nothing else that they can do. That way you could play a second unit that has one of the J's in there with Horford and Schroeder and a shooter or something like that. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's a competitive lineup. I don't know. I might try some things like that instead. If we're just trying to fit it together in a way that we haven't seen
Right.
them try yet. So that's my recommendation. That's my TED Talk.
It's tricky because, as we said,
Thank you
all
for coming.
Thanks. I gotta go.
as we said all show,
Drop the mic.
as we
Other
said-
teams do this. Other teams have, and somebody just put it in here. Other teams do this. It's not they put in a person who's
Yeah,
more
no,
of a
it
role
makes
player.
sense. We understand what you're saying. You
Yeah,
don't. You
why
want
not?
to have some balance. You want to have
Yeah.
some reliable guys coming off the bench, so that you don't have a massive fall off in the end of the first quarter or the end of the whenever. So it makes perfect sense. But right now they don't have the depth. So
Yes.
they can't do that at
Yeah.
all. But
They can't now, right?
full roster, yeah, you could knowing what you know now about, going into the season, I think there were some question marks, but now you can have a better idea of what guys are capable of. Now maybe you can change some things around once they do get Jaylen Brown back. And I don't know what Rob's deal is, if he's just going to be in and out of the lineup all year. That makes it difficult too to have any consistency. But once they get Jaylen back, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of a different starting lineup and have a couple guys coming off the bench that can really contribute. And again, what I always say, it matters more who's in the game at the end of the game than your starting lineup. But you do want to have some sort of flow to things too. So I get that.
Honestly, though, I feel like Ime's going to save those games for when you're not going to see Al out there. And that's probably going to happen soon. And so imagine, Rob's not going to be – if I had to guess, I don't think Rob's going to come back the next couple of games or so. If Al is resting or at least his minutes are reduced, then it's going to be interesting to see how he does in the front court because someone like Hernan Gomez –
that's a
someone
great
like Jabari
point,
Parker,
Josue.
like those two options or one of those guys, there's a spot there, right? I mean, if Rob is out, if Al is on a rested night,
then you're going to
one
lose.
of these guys.
No, I agree.
You can do whatever the hell you want. It's just an L.
No,
Look,
but
it
that's
doesn't sound great, but one of these guys, or I should say, both of these guys should have plenty to prove, right? I mean, they're not necessarily rookies. They're not one of those players that are like borderline G League guys, but they've been in the league long enough that they could be somewhat productive or at least find their spots.
They lost Hernan Gomez since that early experiment where they put him in the starting lineup there. I know he played a little bit in the Saturday game, but can't be worse than Cantor. That's a spot where you can start to experiment a little bit on the back end of the front.
Here he goes again.
Because, listen, Josue's right. Like, there's no...
How did Cantor hurt you? Show me where. How did Cantor hurt you tonight?
Yeah, what did he do to you?
What did Cantor do to you? Okay, show me where. Show me what. Seriously,
I can do the highlight tape, but it's not going to get a lot of views.
What did Cantor do tonight that was
That's all I watch.
so atrocious?
He had four offensive rebounds. Four offensive rebounds.
But he kept some balls alive.
And he
too.
kept even more balls alive than that. He just missed his putbacks, but he didn't kill you on defense
But
either.
he does that all the time. He did kill you on defense. They sent Cam Reddish right downhill on him at switches, and he shot over Cantor every time.
You would have shot over Grant also. That's the point is, like, it's a good player against a not as good player in a situation that he's not in a position to do anything about it. He's not a good pick and roll defender. You think if Grant's out there, Grant's out there, that's going to be different. Like, I mean, what are we talking about here?
But you're looking for a guy who can help you, not just tread water in the second unit.
Grant was a minus 13 for all of the points he dropped here, Bobby.
He's starting. That's the difference.
A heroic first half, John, and you know it. All right.
Cantor, they've been down this road before.
Grant,
you know what you're going to get, and you always know how it's going to end. I agree with Josue. That's the door where you can actually try some different things.
We know he's bad on defense. We know he's bad on defense.
We know exactly who he is.
He goes in there, he bodies, he gets boards, he keeps balls alive, he helps you on the offensive end, he scores buckets usually. The only thing that was bad about him tonight is he missed his couple of putback attempts. Otherwise,
he took the fade away.
Otherwise, he gives you exactly what Ennis is going to give you. And again, we're talking about 8 minutes here or whatever.
They were at 8 tough minutes.
Oh.
I'm just saying. John, you talk about other teams mix and match guys. No team. We can keep dreaming of a world where they find minutes for all 15 guys because there's a little bit of something that each guy on the team gives you that they need, and you'd love to combine a Josh Richardson and a Peyton Pritchard in the one player, but no other team in the league does that. So there's going to be guys who are stuck behind certain players on this team because they're worse. In the front court, you might actually be able to find some minutes for Juancho Hernan Gomez on a night like this. Josue's right. Like, that's where you can actually experiment. what in the world is Pritchard doing right now that would make Ime play him over Josh Richardson? Like, we can talk about what might happen, but it hasn't happened yet. So that's where you're actually going to be able to experiment.
Which is why
And
he didn't
Bobby,
see the floor until it didn't
that's
matter.
the point, Bobby. You made the point that there are guys who aren't going to play because the guys ahead of them are better. And it's not so much that those guys are better, it's that the guys are worse. So that's why you don't want to play the kiddies, because the kiddies can't even be average. They're not even playing average basketball. If they were playing average, then you can justify giving them more minutes.
And I'm pretty certain.
But we had this issue last year where Jalen and Jason were just kind of looking around like, really? I'm on the court with these guys right now, and you expect us to do everything? And what did Marcus Smart say? That everyone knows the ball's going to go to Tatum and Brown. Well, that's going to be times 100 when you put them out there with Nesmith, Romeo, and Pritchard.
And Juancho.
Yeah, and it's a good time to play with Hernan Gomez. Yeah, hey, put him in right now.
Look at how sad we are. The commenters and like Bobby are saying like maybe
you're going down to Bruno.
Maybe we should try Juancho. Like if we're at that point in the season already,
game 15, and we're already talking about.
You're looking at Juancho to
experiment. The Juancho experiment.
If he makes 2 threes,
they're already in his turkey.
We're having a different conversation, right? One big performance, all it takes.
All those posts with Brad making the funny face over the offseason for this.
So you know what it also comes down to, and again, so we might be right. The kids might not be able to play. You'll never have any idea because they've never played extended minutes or stretches of time where you could really see them. And that's the frustrating part about it, is it's always so limited. Even last year with the yo-yo, stuff with Nesmith where he'd play and then be DNP-CD for 10, 11 games. So
Jabari's a good one. I like Jabari.
I keep coming back to it. I do wonder if the only thing is it possible, like, you're a stubborn basketball coach. You've done this your whole life, and I know what a basketball player is, and I know what this team needs. And you just play the guys who, for whatever reason, you have trust in, and you just can't let yourself go a little bit and just accept a little bit of crazy, a little bit of sloppy, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, on the hope that you're going to get a payout. That's what we said with the kids last year. But at this point, is it stubborn, or is Ime just looking at practice and being like, these guys just can't freaking play? Like, that's what we don't know.
The games. These guys just don't play that good when they get in.
Well, what are they going to do in such limited minutes,
How did they end up with so many basketball players that aren't good at basketball?
Yeah.
How did that happen? Whose job?
Whose
job was it to?
Let me tell you about a GM.
Damn, Jimmy. That's
let me tell
painful,
you. Let me tell you about a guy who used
to.
Comes down to that.
They're 7-9. They're not 7-19 at least. Jeez.
No, and that's the thing here. So there's a big difference between what Brad was doing. There's a big difference between what Brad was doing last year and what Ime's doing
11-game losing streak.
What Ime's doing is kind of working, and they're a few shots away from being in these games.
He is. He's kept
Brad was staying with stuff that wasn't working statistically, and he was just like, well, I like how it looks. So that's the difference we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
Well, I do actually think that Ime, what's funny is people are killing Ime for rotations and this and that. For me, I'm just simply saying, try it. You never know. But it very well may be this is the best that they can do, and this is the best that they can be right now. Mm-hmm. Down a couple of players and just trying to find their defensive identity, play hard, and hold the line for a little bit and see if it'll start to work itself out. Tatum gets out of his shooting slump, you get healthy again, and then you just go on to one of those runs where you start to rack up some wins. I'm pretty sure that's what they're doing. So again, that's why it's hard to overreact. It is 7-8.
Schedule's been tough.
You have the double overtime games. The schedule's been tough. It could easily be,
injuries.
Next week they got
be 9-6, and you wouldn't be that frustrated. Very, very, very easily right now, or better, or 10-5. So
they haven't really lost a game.
It's not a freak out. It just looks ugly. It just looks ugly. And again,
we see the road that we're heading down. I think that's the problem.
You see it. That's why, that's the only reason I keep going back to the kids. You want to know for sure it doesn't work before you abandon it completely. We're going to get 3.5 years into it without ever having really given them a shot to do anything other than little spot duty here and there. And yes, you earn your minutes, and some people would do more with their minutes than they do. But it's obvious like a guy like Neesmith has to be out there playing significant time to have any chance of making a contribution. Otherwise, he's freaking useless. You know, he's useless in 3 and 4 and 5 minute stints.
Here's a question. We're talking about,
And he might just be useless, period. And that just might be it.
No.
11 minutes, just those 2 threes. They weren't even close.
No. Jimmy, what's up?
No, they're horrible.
just thinking about, I was just talking about why are there so many basketball players that aren't good at basketball, and then I was thinking about Danny, and then I was thinking about, okay, well, now it's Brad. Are we confident that Brad knows what he's doing in this role?
No.
I think he did all that he could.
This was a Band-Aid season.
But in season, if in season moves need to be made, are we confident that Brad is? This is a first year GM.
We should.
Well, he's got a CP.
First year coach, first year GM, bunch of players
He's never done it before.
Right,
So he's got
exactly.
to prove himself. He has to prove himself.
Yeah.
No one should feel confident because he hasn't done it before. There's literally no blueprint or track record that can make you feel he's up to it or he's not up to it. So
yeah, we have to wait and see.
That's the risk that we're all. That's why it was such a crazy move. That's why it was so crazy.
What he did during the offseason, you're like, all right, let's see what's next.
Hey,
I think he did it.
The Horford thing's a big feather in his cap for sure, and
Horford's worked out. Richardson's fine, but I still don't really.
Schroeder, kind of fell in the lap, but it was a good move.
I don't think Brad did a horrible job.
He did not have anything to work with this offseason.
Yeah,
right.
No,
that's exactly why
I'm talking about more in season, moving forward here. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the future.
It's gonna come to that, Jimmy. I think it's gonna have to. I just can't see this being the roster at the end of the year. And if it is,
you got to do something about that second unit. It is. That's embarrassing. You got 11 points from one guy. The rest of the guys scored the same as us 5 sitting here on our asses. That's not good.
Yes.
I'm not John Wooden or anything, but I do know that if I play like 10 guys and half of them don't score at all, that's not good.
Typically not good. Yeah.
I've seen some Mo Brown.
That's the way James Naismith wanted when he created basketball.
I've seen some Mo Brown some Mo Brown in the comments. Anybody out there clamoring for Moses Brown right now? And trust me, I was very against trading.
You
Mo
thought
Brown.
It was egregious.
Well, I thought it was pointless because it was a cheap backup big, and you have none right now. So
he was your Rob Insurance.
He was your Ennis Cantor. He's your Ennis Bobby. He's your Ennis Cantor repellent. Okay, you could have had him.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And he went out Josh Richardson.
Ennis is not on this team if Moses Brown was still on this team.
Yeah, and Richardson.
Neither was Josh Richardson.
Brown is Moses Malone.
That's
Moses
fine.
Brown
Honestly,
damn, he's not Moses Malone.
Honestly,
why the hell are people freaking out?
I would. Even so, Richardson's had value. I'd still rather play the kids right now because Richardson is what he is. I want to see it once and for all, and then I want to end this kid experiment if they're not good enough. But go Google Mo Brown's stats this year. Anybody who's clamoring for him here?
No, I already did it.
Is he even playing?
Not much.
No, he's not.
I've been keeping tabs on the kid, so I know. All right, yeah.
3 minutes. 3 minutes a night.
Would you rather have him or Taco?
Ooh, Taco.
Taco.
There you go. My guy Taco.
Simply because I know Taco's going to be be and entertaining.
Those Taco minutes come so close to working.
Taco makes me happy.
John said it. John said it. If you don't make any moves with this roster, you know where it's going. So they're gonna have to go one way or the other. If you're way below 500, I think there's a case for trading off some of these pieces to do some more forward-thinking stuff here. If you're close and you think there's a chance to make a run, you got to improve this roster. You got to give them a chance.
That's why, to me, you're not really punting getting rid of Richardson and Schroeder. Yes, Schroeder's a valuable piece, but you're just saying we're gonna.
But Schroeder's gone at the end of the year, probably.
We're gonna play younger people
and
be fine with it. And that's what you're saying there. And yes, you are kind of giving up on the season a little bit, but how many Celtics fans aren't totally delusional. Does anybody think this team has? Does anybody think this team has championship aspirations? No. Like, who's gonna flip out if this 500 team that's battling it out for the 7th, 8th spot right now trades Schroeder and gives up on the season? Yeah, it'll be disappointing to the players in the locker room, but
Well,
what if you get a first? What if you get an
because you're back at where you were, right?
How can you accept
team, and you don't get a chance to see what Tatum and Brown look like throughout, right? Brown's been injured, so
if we can look again,
how can you expect
right.
how can you expect them to give it an all-out effort if you're basically signaling that you're taking a step back? Like, how do you expect Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum
Jimmy, you already have been 14-20 at that point, or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, the players know. And here's the thing, and again, this is where Bobby and I differ.
We're not saying do it
tremendously.
Yeah, we're saying hypothetically, right? I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, all right.
Not today, but to me, this is where
things stay the same.
Where I love the reason if you can find anybody, if you can get that PJ Tucker deal, if you can get a first-round pick for something, bring it. That's the whole point. Like, you need to take more swings right now and see if one of them hit. You got to see if you can hit your Maxey or your Desmond Bain or your
Ronnie.
I'm back on the John. Remember last year I said throw the picks out the window?
That was a big trade for the Celtics. No,
I have the picks around my arms like this year. Yeah. They're not going anywhere.
Give me all of them right now because you need more. You take a bunch of swings. And one of them hits and for every Neesmith, Romeo, or whatever, you get a Maxey. Like that's why you keep taking stabs at it.
And you have a different GM now. He might be better.
Oh wait, you're talking about never mind. You're talking about going the draft route. I'm thinking you're talking about bringing in a guy, toward the end of the season that's going to help you with a playoff push. Never mind.
No, I'm
That's
just
a possibility, but you have to show your team that can make
you
that
get
run.
late in the year and you're floundering there. I have no problem selling some parts if people are willing to buy them. I mean, you get to February and you're a 500 team.
And
fine.
if you're good, because this defense gives them a chance to stay good throughout the course of the year if they're healthy. If you think that shifting out some main pieces on this team can make you a significantly better group, I think you start to look at Marcus Smart at that point. You start to look at some other main rotation guys that if you can find some sort of deal there to swap in some.
The Celtics will have to give up. The Celtics will have to give up first to get rid of Marcus Smart.
They're not gonna
trade Marcus just like that.
They're not gonna have to
do that. I don't think they have to give up first. I think they might be able to get away with some conditional seconds.
They're not gonna have to get rid of him. He's still.
It's not get rid of. It's trading him for something else. At that point,
but you're gonna have to sweeten it a little bit. You're gonna have to sweeten it with second round picks or something like that. I don't think it's just gonna be player for player.
Yeah, the path. Yeah, the path to improving isn't gonna be the young guys, trading the young guys, or trading bottom pieces on this roster. You're actually going to have to trade a real salary, a real player that can help another team and swap it out for something else that you need. Maybe a team needs Smart's defense, John, and they give you a shooter or something to that effect. I'm not saying you're going to trade Smart for Beal at the deadline. I'm saying you're going to swap in something else you need. And again, you can keep saying Smart doesn't have any value, but he's one of the better defenders in the league right now.
I think he does.
To this team, it looks a little less impactful because
I think because this team has changed. This team has evolved in a way that what he does well doesn't necessarily neatly fit. I mean, think about it. Your best player is Jason Tatum. What does he do best? ISO score. Your next best player, that's Jaylen Brown. What does he do? ISO score. You start looking at the way they're built.
That's what they do best. The numbers say otherwise, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, that and Marcus and
Schroeder as well.
Schroeder,
the dream,
ISO attack.
Yeah.
The dream is Philly ends up in such a desperate situation that all of a sudden you can make a deal where you're trading pieces for Simmons. That's the dream mid-season.
It ain't gonna be their pieces.
No.
We'll see how they can make it work. But
so play the pieces.
Yeah, right. They're not going to get
play the pieces then. If you want to trade them,
They're not going to get Simmons. You're not going to get Russell Simmons for these pieces unless you start playing them. Never mind Ben Simmons.
It's called fattening them for slaughter. Play the pieces,
or
man.
Richard Simmons for these pieces. You're not going to get Richard Simmons.
Yeah, Richard Simmons. I like that. You know what, John? They might be scared to play him because they might lose complete value.
Hey, you guys,
Which
come watch
Jimmy,
Nesmith.
I
Just
would be
become
more
a-
worried about that.
Who wants to come watch Nesmith foul 6 times in 12 minutes?
and trip over everything.
Right.
The one play he had where he got lost on the screen and then came back and fouled somebody on the end one. I was like, it's the first second I noticed he was on the court. I was like, who committed that foul? I was like, oh, it's Nesmith.
You knew who committed that damn foul.
Yeah.
He's just, what do? I got to catch up. Warwick.
I love that kid.
Yeah, he's on the ground in the deck.
Everything
I
is a
love that.
blur.
You turn away and you hear a thud and body parts hitting the floor, and you're like, oh, Aaron's in.
Flash.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing this conference.
What's the scary thing about this conference right now is the Celtics are where they are, and you have Atlanta below them. You have Philly, who's lost 5
Atlanta's
straight.
gonna rise
You have
fast.
Milwaukee down there. There's teams who are treading water around where the Celtics are, who are going to pass them.
And Chicago's
100%.
amazing.
Yeah.
There's teams at the top right now that I think are the real deal. Like, I like Washington. Sherrod, like, you think they're for real?
Thank
I
you.
think they're
Thank
more
you,
for real
LeBron.
than they're giving credit for.
Thank LeBron for that.
I mean, yeah, because I mean, Kuzma's got something up his you know what, and he's just playing out of his mind. And Bill is doing what he does. Dinwiddie
love
was a
that team.
great addition, and they're fun to watch. I mean, you watch them play. They play the way you need to play. They play hard. If they get down, they're not sulking about it. They're figuring, okay, we just got to get back into the game, find a way to win this damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're tough. And the thing about it, they have guys that have a clear skill set that for whatever reason teams don't exploit their weaknesses. Like Montrez. I mean, he can't defend to save his life, and yet you don't see teams like the Celtics go at him the way they should. My gut tells me that as we get deeper into the season, they're going to get exposed. But shit, I mean, keep doing what you're doing because no one is stopping them.
They have a lot of really good players.
Yeah,
This might be the worst. This might be the comment that sums it all up.
Yeah, it's apathy,
Oh.
like I said.
Yeah.
that's
Like
what
I said,
happens when your team
that
is
was
like
the feeling of
in
last
the
year,
middle.
too.
Sherrod, you
the
should have
feeling-
seen. Yeah. You should have seen us start the show, Sherrod. It was me, Jimmy, and Josue. We were just looking at each other and we're like, who wants to freaking talk? You know?
Friday should be
Right.
more exciting.
None of us had anything to say. We're like,
Yeah. I was
I
just
think-
like poking the screen, seeing if it would move.
If everybody's available for Friday on both sides, that's gonna be a fun one.
I don't
Yeah,
think so.
Celtics, Lakers, dude. The rivalry's
I don't
back.
it'll be
Friday
fun.
I think it'll be.
Garden, let's
I don't
go.
think it'll be fun. I'm not gonna. I don't think it'll be fun.
We'll see. We need a little hate.
A little early for Lakers to the Garden, huh?
If LeBron plays, it'll be fun. If he doesn't play, it's
That's
not
what I'm
really.
saying.
wanna
If
see
everybody
Jalen
plays on both
playing.
sides,
You remember that last game when there were fans in the stands? They beat them by like 38 here, right? That
you
was
got
the
the
game.
Russell Westbrook experience.
That was
going on.
Jalen's game blouses dunk on LeBron, right?
Sure
You know
was.
it's probably going to be a
Oh.
good game for Tatum. And then you get the two bigs to compete with
Yeah,
theirs.
Tatum's
It's gonna be a
gonna-
good game.
Tatum's showing up in full Kobe
yeah.
gear.
Tatum playing against his favorite team.
I hope he remembers to take off the Lakers uniform before the game begins, though.
Oh, we gonna
That's
do
right,
this
Tom,
again?
He takes off the shooting shirt and the Lakers jerseys
Oh,
underneath.
jeez.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just
This
play
is
for
from the
these
photo
guys.
shoot.
I guess I'm already wearing gold.
Yeah,
I
you
guess
guys
I'll just
don't
play
care
for
if I
these guys.
just chill over here for the game.
Wait till we have the LeBron Tatum hug after the game with the whisper in the ear.
They're gonna be
Everyone
hugging.
can
Absolutely,
explode.
Bobby. You're right. Absolutely.
They're gonna be hugging during the game.
Jersey swap.
Absolutely.
Jersey, like I
Love
said,
that.
at halftime.
jersey swap,
At halftime.
and then he's gonna stay. Yeah, he's gonna keep it on.
Rondo and Avery Bradley. There's a lot of stuff to watch on Friday.
I just hope the Celtics fans show up and they're loud because
Rondo's back.
you need to.
I
You need
just
to be
hope
loud.
that, I
for
just
the
hope
Celtics
that the
Lakers.
team plays well enough to give fans something to shout about.
Right,
That's what I
right.
hope.
You know what's
Well,
crazy?
I hope they're loud. I didn't say if they'd be cheering or booing, but I just hope that they're loud.
I've missed 2 games, so I'm not 100% certain, but I think the loudest this Garden's been this year has been in the preseason when they were making those big runs. Remember how loud it was in the preseason there? That might be the loudest the Celtics
The
fans
most
have gone
excited
there
I've been was
Well,
the friggin' Vegas League Finals.
Yeah,
I wanted that bad.
Yeah, that
we
one
wanted the
fell
chip. We
quick.
wanted to bring home the chip.
That's when the Magic.
Yeah.
disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's been
reality
went south.
said it. Yeah. That's
Hey,
when reality said it.
That was rough. All right, we've gone on long enough, so we'll wrap
Yeah,
it up.
please.
Does anybody have anything profound to say
No.
to end this? No.
Nothing.
Okay.
Al Horford, keep it
I'm on E.
rolling.
I will be ready to go
I'm glad
Friday
you didn't
night
say Rob.
for my Lakers revenge game.
Like Jimmy needs this one bad. This is a big redemption game for Jimmy.
I will be back stronger than ever, better and stronger, bigger, faster.
You and Schroeder.
I will. I'll have to think about what I'm gonna have for this for a cocktail for this game.
Okay. Maybe just don't have the first one until like after
maybe
the game.
I'll just have to keep it all in check.
Yeah.
We don't want any
That's a good
repeats.
idea.
Yeah. I'll
Or do
text
we?
I'll text you when it's okay to have one.
John's gonna be a nervous wreck. He's gonna we all sign on. He's gonna be like this, like waiting for me to sign on. Like, please don't be slurring your words and be all over the place.
I gotta go back and watch that episode before the next.
Oh my God, me too. I did unless Jimmy burned it.
Hell no. I think I pinned it to my top of my Twitter.
YouTube somewhere.
No, I didn't do that.
So
Yeah,
Jimmy.
it's somewhere in the YouTube.
That's so
Billions
funny.
and billions of videos.
That was such an experience.
Com.com.
We were all talking to each other, and Jimmy was making his points, and we're all just kind of looking at each other like, "What's going on?"
Right?
I was fine. You guys were freaking out about nothing.
It was like
if you watch that show back, I dominated that whole episode.
Oh, you
dominated
did.
that whole episode.
Yeah, but no, Bob, you're dead on. I'm looking at Bob and yo, is this a bit?
It was like a Robert Kraft like a Super Bowl acceptance speech.
It was an important show too. That was like a very consequential game.
Oh, that was
They
good.
lost at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. So very quickly, I'll mention our sponsor, but let you guys know, subscribe to Patriots Press Pass on YouTube if you haven't already. We've got a game tomorrow night.
They're in Atlanta
Yes,
too.
sir.
In Atlanta,
Yeah,
we'll be
so-
doing Patriots post game. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So
Yeah, they've been following each other.
yeah.
Cleveland, Atlanta.
So Atlanta, exactly. So we will check that out. Oh, hold on one second.
That should be an easy W. It should be. I don't know if it will be, but it should be.
Yeah.
Nothing's easy for this thing. Well, last week was.
Last week was a cruise. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I still don't
check it
believe
out.
in the Pats, but they're surprising me.
It's funny, like there's good reason to feel optimistic, but I do think the gushing has gone to a obscene level at this point, where you might have to pump the brakes a little bit. But right now, it's there's
the Browns
no team.
win does a lot because that's a good team. The
That
last
was
two before that were.
That was a
mean,
that was a complete win. Like
It's 10 times more entertaining than last season. We can all agree. Those games were so damn painful to watch.
But
last
Cam's
season.
back in Carolina. Get ready for
He
that
is.
experience.
Yeah. So I know a lot of you guys in
he's
this
back.
chat are Pats fans too. So come join us over there for that post-game show. We're back here with these guys, obviously, on Friday for the Lakers. I think most of the gang is going to be at that game. So it's going to be a lot of dark backgrounds and masks and stuff, but we'll make it work. And also calm.com/garden, America's #1 sleep and meditation app, partnered with LeBron James, who's coming to Boston. He's going to be a special guest on this show, maybe.
Possibly, yep.
Calm.com/garden, 40%. It's almost definite. 40% off for a premium subscription, limited time only. So go get yourself some.
Yeah, he just hit me back. He said he should be able to make it
He
work.
did. All right, good,
Yeah.
Jimmy. I was going to ask you, but I didn't want to do it on the show.
He said he should be able
all
to
of
make it
us.
work.
He would hit up Jimmy. Right.
That's cool. Celtics fall to Atlanta
chat.
110-99. They fall to 7-8 on the season. Lakers coming up on Friday. We will be back. Thank you guys as always for watching, and we will see you